You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
He's got it! Oh, baby!
Every week, Travis Currah.
That's Grey Cup me, which is a different person.
And Brazilian Tide.
Hunters are people too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Oh, nearly intercepted, and it's over!
Ready, set, hunt!
Thanks for pressing play on this episode of Two and Out. It's Travis Currah. It is Sheldon Jones as Brazilian Tie is back to work. Now, Sheldon, I don't know if you've seen the rumblings about this, but a cage fight between the billionaires, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. Who do you got?
Oh, Zuckerberg. Have you seen those pictures of him? Like,
he looks like a beast.
yeah, he looks cut. He looks like all those years of being a nerd. He's ready to kick Elon's ass. Like, let's go.
Well, here's my thing. Like, maybe it's my pro wrestling background, but there needs to be a heel. Now, I would say Elon is the more natural heel.
For sure.
Zuckerberg does not inspire anything. Like, yeah, he may be ripped and looks like he's ready to fight, but I don't want to cheer for him.
It's like a double heel fight where you hope that one of them can win over the crowd. But I think the way that Musk has handled Twitter, I think there's no coming back for him. And I think Zuckerberg would get those chants, you still got it, I guess, but like you can wrestle or something. I don't know. You can fight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's pretty good at taking ideas and then like copying them and perfecting them for the masses. So this whole Threads thing might be Zuckerberg's big face turn. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's no GIFs.
Oh.
And that's huge. Like,
what's the point
98% of my tweets are a freaking GIF. So if I'm going to be threading a lot, I need those GIFs, Mark.
So what's the point?
Exactly.
We start this week with some news, I guess, out of the States. The USFL, the New Orleans Breakers, have released McLeod Bethel Thompson, and I feel like around CFL circles, whether it's Edmonton, whether it's Ottawa, it kind of just seems like wishful thinking that he's going to be coming to the CFL. I don't know if that is imminent, but I've been reading he's literally a few games away from his NFL pension now that they dress three quarterbacks. If he can get some sort of job there and get onto the roster for a few games or whatever the rules are, I think he's going to want to lock up that pension if he can.
Yeah, but the thing that's kind of weird to me is I thought that there was I thought NFL players didn't need to be released to sign in the NFL, but I thought if you were coming back to the CFL, you would need to get released. So that's the thing that I'm kind of iffy on, but his wife has also been out of work for quite a while because of this writer's strike.
That's interesting.
And she's a writer for Marvel. And so they might need some money coming in, and prorated CFL contract isn't great, but it's money, right? But yeah, hopefully he can get with an NFL team because getting that pension, you're pretty much set for life there.
Yeah, that's a good point with that writer's strike. Now, I always am hesitant. I don't really think it works out as good as people hope, bringing in a quarterback halfway through a season.
No,
you
need to learn a whole new system. You need to build it's just your receivers need to get to know your cadence. It's like a month-long process, I would say. You need a training camp. You need like a full training camp to get on the same page and build that camaraderie up.
Yeah, to do that in the middle of the season, that is a challenge to say the very least. And I realize there are some desperate teams, some desperate fan bases right now, including the Edmonton Elks, who are home to the Hamilton Tiger Cats Thursday night. Now, the Ticats are 2.5-point favorites here. But man, this is one of those games, and we saw the picks lock in their picks with CFL.ca, the writers. It's clearly split. Hamilton coming off the short week, just playing on Saturday against Ottawa, traveling across the country, but Edmonton's been having themselves a pretty challenging schedule as of late as well, traveling all over the place and that kind of thing. Now, if Edmonton or if any team is going to fumble an opportunity taking on a team traveling cross country on a short week, it's probably Edmonton with that 19-game home losing streak, just hovering right above their heads like a Goodyear blimp above the 55-yard line. Like, I don't know, man. If Edmonton pulls this off, I just see a lot of Paul Heyman gifs on Twitter Thursday night, man.
Yeah, like it kind of is the perfect storm. You would think that they could end it, but then again, it's Edmonton at home, so I'm not taking Edmonton at home. That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler. Little Heyman reference there. But you're right. The Ticats, they're hurting, but they got that win against Ottawa. They held off that 1 yard that they stopped. They stopped him from getting in, so they're riding that high. But again, short week travel, like you said, it's tough, but it's not like Edmonton's not that scary place to go anymore like it used to be. Especially like as a Rider fan, we went like decades with winning like maybe 1 or 2 games in those decades there, but now it's like guaranteed win night for the opponents, so they have to. And Chris Jones's team is not showing us anything right now that says that they're going to win. So I think Hamilton squeaks it out, but I think if there is, this is as good a shot as Edmonton has had in a while to end this. But
I think at one point, like the Riders were probably like, I'm not even kidding, 3-27 over like 20 years or something like. And I grew up closer to Edmonton than Regina, so I went to more games in Edmonton and just watched them lose over and over and over again. Like, it was just on repeat. I remember a game we went to, oh man, this is probably close to 20 years ago, when the Riders beat them 54-51 in overtime. I think there was a holding call on a field goal in
it was a while ago.
Some pretty, that was like Sean Fleming days. Some pretty ugly games that the Riders somehow squeaked out at Commonwealth Stadium. But this is about the Ticats, and man, they just squeaked out a win against the Dustin Crum-led Ottawa RedBlacks. And look, Crum had some things going. He was running. I mean, he kept them in the game. The RedBlacks defense kept them in the game. But I don't know if it's really an inspiring victory that the Ticats ended up achieving. They're going to need to play better to beat Edmonton. That being said, Edmonton's offensive line, it's just not giving Taylor Cornelius any time to really get anything done. The run game is struggling getting things done, but they did have a little bit of success, Edmonton did, on the ground against Saskatchewan. That is probably going to be a key for some success in Edmonton Thursday night against the Cats.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, Cornelius sure had lots of time against the Riders.
Are they going to? Yeah.
I just don't know. Like, if Cornelius has times to throw, more often than not, he's not making that throw on target, and his receivers have been making some excellent catches to kind of save him in some of the circumstances. But he can kill you with the legs, like he has against the Riders twice in the past 2 years here. Hamilton's defense is okay. Usually it's a lot better. But
they've got horses, man.
Yeah. It like you said, it's the trenches. Whichever O-line or D-line can win, then that's the team that's going to win at the end of the day, because the quarterbacking is an issue, and so it comes down to the trenches.
Yeah, can Cornelius run against the Cats? I think that'll be a big thing to get them going, and they just need to finish. They stalled out against Saskatchewan, and I mean that's also one of those broken record things. Just finish drives, end them in some sort of points, and don't end them in rouges like Edmonton did 4 times against the Riders. That's the difference in the game there. If they're able to make those kicks, we're not talking about the end of the game at all, because
No, and
the Riders finished 1 drive. So
yeah, they need to come out hot and fast. They need to get, if they win the coin toss, they need to take the ball, they need to get a good kick return, and they need to score a touchdown right away and get that crowd into it. Because that crowd hasn't seen a lot of good stuff happen in a very long time.
Yeah.
Longer than Roman Reigns' streak right now.
Which is crazy.
So
maybe that is the curse in Edmonton.
Yeah, maybe they're not winning until after WrestleMania in April when Cody beats Roman.
Oh, don't say that out loud, brother. Don't say that. I'll be crying in the stands if that ends up happening. No, the Elks, maybe a little bit of shuffling here on the offensive line. David Foucault was playing right tackle against the Riders. Man, he had some moments there, including a holding call that ended up bringing back a Stephen Dunbar touchdown, but he's moving back to left guard. It does look like Brett Boyko is going to be starting at right tackle, so another offensive line combination for those Edmonton Elks. Can they keep Kevin Brown going? They were feeding him the ball against Saskatchewan. I really hope they continue to do it here against Hamilton. I think that'll be a key to winning against the Ticats. But look, the Cats, they haven't really been consistent on offense either. And Matt Schultz needs to be kept clean, and they need to run the ball too. Like, we got to establish some consistency here. You gave James Butler the big contract, and I know last week didn't have the biggest carry average against Ottawa, but Edmonton has shown that you can run against them. And a lot of times it's been teams getting the lead and just continuing to pound them into submission. But I just don't know if this is going to be one of those games where a team goes up 3 touchdowns, and I just don't know if either of these teams have that ability right now.
3 rouges, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
That might be an insurmountable lead in this Elks Ticats game. But the Elks 0-6, can you imagine? Like, I know trusting the process is big here and letting Chris Jones do the whole rebuild thing, but 0-6 is ugly to stare in the face. Not many coaches would survive that sort of record a third of a way through a season.
Yeah, insert Jerry Seinfeld, that's a shame gift right here. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, to be honest.
Just no sympathy from the Queen City.
Not when he gets all his boys a contract and then leaves us and goes to the NFL, and then no sympathy.
That's funny. Edmonton fans were feeling the same in about 2015.
I know.
Shortly after a championship too.
Yeah. At least he got them that. That's true.
Yeah. Friday night football. The Alouettes are home to the Toronto Argonauts. The Argos are 5.5-point favorites here. And news out of Toronto, Ryan Dinwiddie has been extended. Now, he was hired before the lost COVID season, and I kind of wonder if that almost helped out the process a little bit. It seemed like during that time they were having all sorts of meetings with the coaching staff in Toronto, and since they've come back onto the field, first place in 2021, first place in 2022, and a nice shiny ring on that ring finger, and then also this year 3-0 to start the year. And to me, they've looked better this year to start than they have in each of the last 2 seasons, which is impressive, I would say, out of Toronto.
Dinwiddie is a really good coach. I don't think it's a coincidence that after he left Calgary, their quarterback production seemed to start to decline. And this extension is well deserved for him. Like, it's good to have these young new coaches thriving. I wish, there's a better circumstance in Hamilton with Coach O, because he was
Yeah.
another young coach that looked like he was off to a good start there. But that's what this league needs, and this stupid coaching cap has hindered it, I think, for a few seasons. But now we're starting to see this guy who, yeah, he did it the right way. Like you said, he had an extra year of just tooling and figuring out and putting pieces together in his playbook and how he's going to call games. And yeah, no, I'm happy for him.
Yeah. Good.
Happy.
Good for him. The Montreal Alouettes, on the other hand, of course, Jason Moss, their coach this year, but they are on pace to allow 99 sacks on the season. I know they're only 4 into it, but kind of familiar territory for Cody Fajardo. He's under fire a lot in that backfield. At the same time, though, I feel like he's looked better than last year somehow, and last year probably had a lot to do with the knee injury that he was playing with, and we haven't seen it as much this year where he does the old candy cane move where he loops back and turns around. Hasn't really done that. Even Jason Moss brought it up. He's better at stepping into the pocket and trying to make those throws. He doesn't have the most offensive weapons to throw to. Austin Mack has had a great start to his young career, and Keon Julian Grant sort of having a big breakout this year. But Cody Fajardo, why not make it 100 sacks and really make the record count, Sheldon?
Yeah, well, like it's interesting that you say that he hasn't really been doing that, because I was looking on Twitter this morning and I saw a clip from last game where he was going and he had a great pocket. His O-line was doing the job and he still did the stupid turn. And I like Cody. Cody's a really nice guy, but I think this is showing that it wasn't just the O-line issues in Saskatchewan. He is having O-line issues again in Montreal. But it was interesting. I was listening to the Piffles podcast this morning, and they said that like the Montreal Alouettes O linemen were like ranked really high on this new ranking system that they partnered with, which is really strange. But yeah, it's Cody's got to take a lot of the responsibility for all these sacks that he's taking. Not all of them, obviously, but like you said, he is playing better this year, and the change of scenery seems to have helped a little bit. But we're still getting that same situation where you're losing valuable yards by taking that sack. So
Yeah, it does
got to get the
seem.
ball out of there quicker or something.
Yeah.
Like they got to work on his mechanics there. But and he has a great guy to do it. Anthony Calvillo is his freaking quarterback coach. So like, come on, man.
It does seem like less that he's kind of getting the happy feet back there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
On one hand, too, I look, he's the pro and I'm the schlub sitting on the couch. I don't have 275-pound D lineman chasing me down. I would get happy feet probably as soon as that ball was anywhere near me, brother.
Yeah, I know it's easy for us to criticize,
but the Toronto defense is no joke. So it's not getting any easier for the Alouettes this week. In fact, it's going to be very, very tough. But here's the thing. They've got William Stanback. And I don't know if he's just not the same back as he has been. But last week, they gave him the ball 6 times, man. And a few of those came when the game was over in the fourth quarter. So if your quarterback's going to be carrying the ball more than your starting running back, it's not going to end up well. And especially for a defense like BC, they were feasting on it. Toronto, the same way, is going to feast on play calling like that. And it's not going to get any easier for Cody Fajardo if they're only going to be giving the ball to Stanback 5 or 6 times.
No, and like that's what, like I don't understand Jason Moss's system, because you need to run to set up play action to then get the deep passes. And Cody has shown that he is quite accurate when it comes to his deep balls.
He's had a better deep ball this year. Yeah.
For sure. And he's had his receivers come down with them. And if he's given the time and he doesn't have the happy feet, Cody can pick apart defenses. He's not a terrible quarterback. He's a good to average quarterback, but he has the weapons of his legs. He has the deep ball. It's just they're not using the run. They're not using stand back in ways that they can to take some of that heat off of him so that then they can do a play action and then hopefully get that extra 1 or 2 seconds before the defenders realize that it's not a run and it's a pass.
That being said, Montreal's defense has been pretty fierce to start the year, and that'll be another test for the Toronto Argonauts offense with Chad Kelly, with AJ Ouellette, who has been a monster to start this year so far. He had the hat trick of touchdowns in Edmonton, and they've had a different schedule than other teams. It might come back to hurt them later on in the season, but 2 bye weeks within 5 weeks. Obviously, they're going to come into Montreal a little bit rested here and a little bit ready to just pound the ball at that Alouette defense with Almondo Sewell. It's going to be tough to run at them, but Toronto's a physical team that has the ability to do that. I'm seeing the stats here on passes attempted of over 20 yards this season. John Hodge is tweeting out this stat. Cody Fajardo is the best completion percentage of passes over 20 yards this year. He's 50%, 10 of 20. Now, it is only 20. Vernon Adams Jr. has attempted 46 of those plays, and he's completed 44% of them. So he is pretty close to Cody Fajardo in that, but Fajardo has been pretty good in that regard. As Toronto goes, and maybe this is coaching, and this is Ryan Dinwiddie having them prepared. We've seen in the 3 games this year, if the opposing team's going to make a mistake, Toronto's going to make you pay. They have just destroyed teams off of turnovers and things like that, and penalties especially. So Montreal needs to clean those up, and they definitely need to protect the ball against the Argos.
Yeah, like the Argos are just like the Bombers, where if you give them an inch, they take that mile, right? And that's what good teams do. Teams who are coached well. So yeah, no, Montreal, they're in a tough spot against Toronto's defenses.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal that the Argos haven't been 3-0 to start a year since 1991.
It's crazy.
But here they are in those beautiful baby blues with the oars on the shoulder. What do you think about those jerseys?
I love them. Like,
Yeah.
at first I wasn't crazy about the Oilers, but because I thought they would just look too much like the wings of the Montreal's third jersey, but I guess they don't really have that jersey anymore with this new Patriots jersey that they ripped off. Just kidding. That guy who created them and did the fan design. No, I love the jerseys. The baby blues are awesome. Like, eventually I hope to get one of those jerseys.
Yeah. Cam Phillips was back practicing in full for the Argos, but here's one. Jordan Williams has been missing practice. The linebacker that came over from BC hasn't practiced this week, although I'm going to be watching Adarius Pickett for the Argos. When I went to the Elks and Argos game, he was flying all over the place. Now he's going to be playing his old team in the Montreal Alouettes. I'm sure there's going to be something there, and he's going to be flying all over the place against the Alouettes in the confines of Percival Molson Stadium, a Friday nighter between the Argos and the Als. Now, a little bit of a different schedule this week. We've seen one game on Saturday, one game on Sunday so far this year, but different. This week, it is a doubleheader on Saturday, and probably a good thing because I might want to wash the taste out of my mouth after watching the Ottawa RedBlacks host the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, where the Bombers, I love that RedBlack shirt, 9.5 point favorites here. The over-under set at 45. It's been confirmed.
They're going to get that themselves.
Now, that being said, I did mention earlier that the RedBlacks defense keeping them in games.
That's true.
They have. Now, it was Edmonton. I realized that. They gave up 7 points. Last week, they did give up 21 to Hamilton, but there was some different circumstances, turnovers, and things like that going on in that game. So they're doing all right. And actually, Winnipeg's offense has slowed down. They put up 24 against Calgary last week, 17 the week before against Montreal. I know it was a torrential downpour, but a little bit different from the offense we saw in week 1 and 2 that was just scoring at will. The news here out of Ottawa is that it's been confirmed Jeremiah Masoli has ruptured his Achilles. He'll be out for the year. So that's 2 weeks, 2 quarterbacks gone down, and 2, I think, positive figures in the RedBlacks organization. So it's really tough to see that, tough to see it for that fan base. They have signed a couple guys. Tyrell Pigrome, he was in Bombers camp, and by all accounts, he turned some heads in training camp, but the Bombers bringing back Dakota Prukop meant that he got released a couple of weeks ago. So he's in Ottawa, and Jake Dunaway, another quarterback, going to Ottawa. But right now, it's Dustin Crum. And we saw him last week, but again, it's just different. When you come in relief versus when you prepare to be the guy and the game plan is built around you. It almost seems like when a guy comes in relief off of an injury or whatever, it's like the game plan's out the window and just go out there, don't turn the ball over and make something happen. It's just a little bit different when you're preparing as the starter, right?
Yeah, so it's different when you just go in there and you should play sandlot football and try to get some plays going, try to get some runs, some play action. It's going to be a hard night for Ottawa's team.
And defenses have started to give Winnipeg some fits. They've been pressuring them. Now, are you going to be able to force them to make 4 turnovers? I don't know. That is probably a little bit difficult to do, but forcing them into second and long, we've seen that happen more over the past couple weeks here. If Ottawa's able to do that, they got a shot.
Yeah, the defensive coordinator is starting to learn. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. They're starting to learn that if you have decent coverage and then you have pressure on Zach, he is going to not be able to find those Dalton Schoens and those Nick Dembskis that are running 20 yards open and get that 40-yard pass on 2nd and 20 like they always seem to do.
Yeah.
But Zach is, if he has pressure in his face, he's not as good as he is when he's not pressured, like any other quarterback. But
yeah.
He's not this world beater that everyone thinks he is because of what his record is. The team has won a lot of those games, right? But Zach is there's a reason why he's won MOP in the past couple of years, I guess. Yeah. But they're beatable. But you have to force turnovers against them. You have to not turn over the ball against them. You have to have a return touchdown. You have to, it has to be a perfect storm, like we were talking about earlier with Hamilton coming to Edmonton. But you need to have that perfect storm to get a win on Winnipeg.
And hey, Ottawa's special teams, even without Devontae Dedmon, they're making teams watch for Brandon Dandridge returning kicks there. He's making things happen. We do know that Willie Jefferson and company is going to have their ears pinned back against Dustin Crum. He did fumble the ball. He did have some issues protecting the ball a little bit when he came in against Hamilton, but he also displayed some toughness, and he also displayed some athleticism, just pulling down the ball and taking off and getting some yards. He came 2 yards away from coming within 2 points of the Ticats at the end of that game there. So Winnipeg's going to need to keep an eye on this guy, and I just hope, and like I said before, sometimes when you come in relief of an injury, the game plan's out the window and you're just doing whatever to make things happen. I hope he has the freedom to do that in this start, because I think he's going to And a lot of times a young quarterback, it's tough to make those reads, the 12 defenders, especially coming from the States. It's a whole new thing. So probably the temptation is to just go after your first read and just let's try to make something happen here. So Winnipeg's got to try to keep him contained because the guy clearly he's got some toughness, he's got some athleticism, and they're going to need to watch for him. At Ottawa practice, we'll see. Devontae Williams has been taking the first team reps at running back this week. It's been between sort of Jackson Bennett and Demontre Tuggle to start the year at running back. We'll see if Devontae Williams gets back onto the roster and they're able to use him a little bit. But we still haven't seen much in the passing game from the RedBlacks to start the year. They haven't had that big game from Jalen Acklin yet to start the year. Got to get these guys going. Make it happen. Make something happen on offense against the Bombers. And I think the RedBlacks defense, they've got the ability to keep them in this game. But the Bombers, they don't really divert from that script. If they want to give Brady Oliveira the ball 15, 20 times, they're going to do that. And they're going to wear teams down eventually. It always seems to eventually happen that way. That being said, they've been auditioning returners at practice this week. Janarian Grant, unfortunately, has an ankle injury, one of the best returners in the league. You want to see him on the field, but Greg McCrae, he's a burner, and this might be the opening to get him on the roster every single week, whether he's more involved in the offense or in the return game as well. And good news at Bomber practice for Bomber fans, as 4 players that are on the 6-game injured list were eligible to return to practice, and they have returned to practice. So the Bombers are also getting healthy at this time of the year, with Winston Rose returning to practice, Jamal Parker, Connor Buttonshaw. That's a great name, by the way. It's Burtonshaw. Buttonshaw, I don't know, is that slightly better? But Kyrie Wilson, who hasn't played after the Achilles injury last season, was practicing as well. So they've got the guys in Winnipeg getting healthy at the right time, but are we going to see them trying extra hard to protect Zach? Because there's been some cracks here and there over the past couple weeks.
Yeah, like Stanley Bryan, I think Father Time is like finally catching up to him because he hasn't been his usual self. But yeah,
he'll still probably win the award in November.
Oh, of course. like Stanley Bryan at 75% is better than 90% of the other linemen, right? So
yeah,
but it's interesting to see like that anchor position and seeing people get by him. It's just something that we haven't been accustomed to the past however many years he's played in the league.
Do the RedBlacks have a shot at covering here?
It would have to, like, they would need to score in like all 3 phases, I think, to keep close. Like, but again, Winnipeg, they've been making mistakes, and everyone's going to have a down game. So you just, again, Ottawa needs to ride momentum. They need to try to get an early score because Winnipeg is slow starting, right? They like to, as you say, get Oliveira settled, get him in there, setting up. But if they can get a couple touchdowns in the first quarter and limit Winnipeg to a field goal or a couple field goals, then you have a shot. But you have to score quickly. You're Ottawa.
I think for Ottawa too, between the ears is where the big battle is. Like, it's demoralizing to lose 2 quarterbacks in 2 weeks. Yeah. That's really tough. So to be able to stay positive and to stay competitive, I think that's probably a big job for Bob Dice and company. But I think they've got the coaching staff that's able to do that and keep their players inspired and ready to go against the Bombers. I hope they're able to do that. And one more Winnipeg note, I wonder if there's going to be some decisions made on Kenny Lawler in the next little while here. We were told it was going to maybe be a 3 or 4 week situation. That impaired charge from 2021 kind of made some, I think it was some immigration issues coming back into Canada at the beginning of the season. Well, here we are in week 5 or week 6, and we haven't seen him yet. So we'll see what's going to happen here over the next few weeks. There's still been no sign of him in Winnipeg. Obviously, that would be a massive addition to that offense, which is just incredible how good they've been early in the season at times, even without Kenny Lawler. The other Saturday night game, I mean, the last time these teams played, it went to overtime. McMahon Stadium in Calgary, but here the Riders are the favorites, 1.5 point favorites as the Stamps come to town. The over-under set at 44.5, and I think they're trying to keep practice relaxed in Cowtown. I don't know if you saw, there was puppies at practice on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, that's awful.
Probably trying to keep things light at practice, not so serious. And I mean, I don't know if puppies are going to help that Stampeder offense get going, but that's something they need to focus on for sure.
Puppies are good every single time that they are there. So give us a dog show for halftime too. Let's go.
Hey, I don't know. Sometimes in Edmonton and Calgary, I've seen the Frisbee guy with the dog. Man, he throws it like 100 yards, and the dog looks like he's 40 yards behind the play, and he makes it somehow. It's impressive every single time.
There, yeah.
Brought up Cody Fajardo's success with the deep ball so far this season. Well, Jake Maier's lack of success has been a glaring issue for the Calgary Stampeders this season. He is actually got 2 completions in 14 attempts of 20 yards or more. That is something the Stamps are lacking. They don't really have the big play ability right now. They did have a pretty big play when Malik Henry burned Nick Marshall at McMahon Stadium a couple weeks ago, but Malik Henry is out. But the injuries on the back end in Saskatchewan, and actually all over the place in Saskatchewan, are going to be tough to overcome. But that being said, and there's going to be an Argo fan or two listening to this, and I just spoiled the question I was going to ask you. The team that had the most injuries last season, the Toronto Argonauts. So injuries are a part of football. The Argos overcame it. How can the Rough Riders overcome it? But when one of your best defenders, Roland Milligan, is seen at practice wearing a walking boot, that's never a good sign, Sheldon.
No, Milligan has been lights out when he's been in there. So yeah, he's definitely a tough loss. There's not much else to say there.
Yeah, Amari Henderson was banged up. It looked like he did come back in on Wednesday. CJ Revis dealing with an injury. And then even on the defensive line early this week, Anthony Lanier, Charbel DeBeer, Lake Corte Moore. Man, all those guys dealing with injuries. Even Eric Lofton, the left tackle, dealing with injuries right now. Oh, the kicker, Brett Lothar, dealing with injuries at the moment as well. So they did bring in a rookie kicker who was actually drafted by the Calgary Stampeders this year. His name's Campbell Fair, and I guess he was building dinosaurs for the museum out in Ontario, and the Rough Riders called him. So they say Lothar maybe is able to play games right now, not able to practice, and maybe that does explain some of the issues we've seen so far this year. But maybe he's not been as bad as maybe sometimes it seems. He hasn't missed many kicks, but they sure stand out once in a while when those missed kicks happen in Saskatchewan.
Oh yeah, like he was like almost automatic for a few
Yeah.
years there, so it kind of I think we just got used to that. Like most kickers are around 80, 85% for accuracy if you're like not Justin
Yeah.
Medlock or Paredes. So um but I think even if this move was not just because he's injured, even if it's like, to light a fire under him, like competition is something that is good when you have somebody who's struggling because then they realize they got that somebody's breathing down their neck and they need to pick it up. So
Yeah.
I'm happy they brought in a kicker, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't want Lowther to remain our kicker because I love Brett Lowther. I love everything that he represents. He's a great teammate. He's a good Atlantic boy. My family's out from there, so I have his jersey, so I don't want him to leave. I don't want us to have to move on. So I hope he can figure it out and get healthy. And hey, he won us the game last week, even if he's got an injured leg. That kickoff was a thing of beauty. So we'll see.
The game-winning Rouge. I mean, I do hope you get made fun of for having a kicker jersey, though.
Yeah, but in my defense, I just went to the Rider store and it was already crested and it was the same price as a uncrested jersey. So I was
Well,
like, yeah,
you
why
gotta
not?
take it. You gotta take it.
Yeah.
Now, how do the Riders keep Trevor Harris protected? Because against Edmonton, it was a struggle. And I said it on the pod earlier this week. I don't really recall seeing Trevor Harris play like that in his CFL career. Clearly, he's an athletic guy. It's just not his preference as a quarterback to be running around. But against Edmonton, he was running around. I don't know. Is he going to be doing that against Calgary this week? They might be in the backfield getting after him early and often.
Yeah, like the one thing, say what you will about Chris Jones, and we were saying it before, but he is a defensive guru, and his defensive schemes are challenging for quarterbacks. So I don't know if it was just that, or if it was just we have a mash unit for our O line other than like Furland and Johnson. It seems those are the only ones who I think have actually played all the games. So
Yeah, it's
uh,
different every week, and that's not good.
yeah, no, but we'll see. I think Trevor Harris is going to have a bounce back game. I think the Riders are going to have a bounce back game. I think the week before coming off the bye, I think I know they said they weren't going to let it happen, but I think they obviously it was a trap game against Edmonton. Like that's what happened. I think because I do think that the Riders are a better team than what they showed last week. So hopefully they realize that they have the opportunity on Saturday to do something that I never thought would ever actually be possible. They could have the season series on Calgary and Edmonton after 5 games. Is that not crazy?
That would absolutely be massive regarding the playoffs. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, that's pretty much third place at least locked up.
a lot of times, like I even think back 10 years, more than that, the season series between Saskatchewan and the Alberta teams, a lot of times not decided till October.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Really late in the year. So for us to not even be at Labor Day and to possibly have those figured out, that is massive. So this is a massive game for both teams. Saskatchewan looking to go to 4-1 and Calgary looking to avoid falling to 1-4. Now that game at McMahon Stadium, and I would say even last week against Winnipeg, the Bombers or the Stamps had Dedrick Mills rolling, and he had over 5 yards of carry against the Riders at McMahon Stadium. And last week against Winnipeg, they had him rolling too. I still don't think they gave him the ball enough. I would say it has to be a focus for the Riders to stop the run. Now, last week, I realized it was Kevin Brown, and it was Taylor Cornelius, too. Probably don't have that same level of threat from Jake Mayer running the ball, but Dedrick Mills is a monster. And Yeah, I keep talking about him every episode and every single week, and he's become one of maybe my favorite running back in the Canadian Football League. If the Riders can't stop him, first of all, the Stampeders need to stick with it. We've seen them kind of move away from the run, even if they've had that success. I think on the road, just who cares if it's not exciting? Just keep beating up that Rider defense, because they already are beat up with injuries.
Well, I think the reason they're getting away from the run is because Dave is just trying to get Mayer going and make it seem like, they didn't make this mistake with Mayer. But that's the thing. That's what the Riders need to do. They need to stop the run and make Mayer beat them with his arm, which is something that he has not shown that he's really that capable of doing. So you see that other lines are in the trench, or other games it's won in the trenches. This is where this game is won. How they pressure Mayer and how they stop the run. I think if they do both of those things, the Riders are laughing this week.
So
if they don't, it's going to be a long week or a long game.
It does appear that Luther Hakanavano did return to practice for the Calgary Stampeders. So that's a big re-addition to the lineup. If he's able to get back onto the field, 6'4", 209 pounds. So he's a big fella, 26 years old, still a young receiver. And I think they're going to need that time for Mark and Michelle to kind of get reacclimated to the CFL game. Winnipeg was all over him last week, and maybe that was by design. I'm sure he's going to get better as he plays more with Jake Mayer and the Stampeders offense. So having Luther back in there and the steady presence of Reggie Bagleton in there, but the Stamps haven't really been able to make those big plays happen. Maybe they just need to change that sort of expectation and that philosophy. Maybe they're just not that kind of team. Toronto doesn't appear to be that kind of team, and it works just fine with them. They're okay with beating you up with their 2 running backs, 3 running backs, their quarterback. They just get yards no matter how it's done. Maybe we're going to get a bounce back from Trey Odom's Dukes as well, who had some costly drops last week against Winnipeg. They just have such a young receiving core. Yeah, they're talented, but they're just quite young. And this West Division showdown, it's always a fun one when we got Dave and Craig doing battle. It doesn't matter what stadium it's at. It's going to be a fun game. I just really hope we don't see any of those fishing for calls on challenges.
We will. We'll get the Dave Dickinson challenge. I love it. I love it. I love when he gets pissed off and throws that flag in the first quarter at something just terrible. But maybe they learned. Who knows?
Saturday night at Mosaic Stadium, like, we heard that stadium come alive after a Rouge of all things in the Edmonton game. They're gonna need to be alive.
It was like a touchdown.
Yeah,
it was literally like a touchdown. It was bizarre.
I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. It was just, your jaw hits the floor. I don't know if I've picked it up yet, but I think it'll be a good way to end week 6 in the Queen City. Have you built a fantasy lineup at all, man? Okay,
I have.
I'm gonna pull mine up. Even Brazilian Ty ended up sending me his fantasy lineup via text message, so I'm gonna see what he has come up with this week. Now, I'll start with mine here. It's getting tough. Like, there's only, 2 or 3 quarterbacks that aren't the max $15,000. I just don't know if I have the guts to start a Dustin Crum. So I do have Trevor Harris in there. My running backs are Dedrick Mills and Tyreek McAllister. He made a couple big plays for the Ticats last week against Ottawa. I'm going to have to verify that depth chart to see if he's going to be playing. I got Sam Emelis, Austin Mack, Trey Odom's Dukes, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defense. That leaves me with $300 left to go. Brazilian Ties team is Zach Collaros, Markin Michel, Austin Mack, Dalton Schoen, AJ Ouellette, Jeshrin Antwi, and the Bombers defense. What are you looking like in week 6, Sheldon?
Well, like you, I don't really want to spend money. Well, I don't want to spend money on my quarterbacks. So I have Matthew Schultz.
Well, it's been like last week. The guys that are scoring the more points are not the stars. So
yeah. No, I have Matthew Schultz. Hopefully, he can extend that streak in Edmonton there. And then I have AJ Ouellette and Diedrich Mills as my running backs. I went with a value pick with Mitch Picton. He had a big game. I'm hoping, like, when he gets in there, he makes plays. Like, he had that one drop in the playoff game against Winnipeg, 2019, I think. Like, he had that one drop, but other than that, he just makes plays. So, like, I think it's time for them to actually, like, he's like Chris Getzlaff. It took a few years, but then he just makes plays. So I hope that that's where we are with Picton. Then I have Duke Williams, and for my flex, I have Shivers from BC, but he is on a bye week, so I'm gonna have to change that. What the hell?
Yeah, BC on bye. So get that figured out, man.
Figure out my flex.
We're both picking Toronto, Winnipeg, and Saskatchewan. Where we differ is the Thursday nighter, Edmonton or Hamilton. This could very well end in a tie. I think the Elks are going to end that home losing streak because I won't be in attendance Thursday night in Commonwealth Stadium. But I think they're going to make it happen. Like, will you be shocked?
No, I won't be shocked at all. Like, I think on the Rider fans pick 'em, I actually did take Edmonton.
Okay.
But on the CFL one, I did take Hamilton. But no, I wouldn't be shocked. It's just I'm not willing to pick Edmonton at home until they show me that they can win there.
I don't blame you.
It's just, yeah.
You can rate, review, and subscribe to Two and Out in your favorite podcatcher. You can like, comment, subscribe on YouTube as well. And you can support the show on Patreon just like Sheldon does. Maybe you'll be able to co-host an episode of Two and Out by supporting us on Patreon. Thanks for doing this, man.
I know somebody who wants to.
Yeah, I've offered him a couple times, and he said no. I guess he's busy. He has a child, so... I guess that's what happens. I do want to give a shout out of a couple recent patrons that have signed up. Matthew Chapman, thank you so much. And Lauren Callahan, if I'm not mistaken, Lauren is from the UK. So can you believe Two and Out has crossed the pond and gone international, Sheldon? How cool is that?
That's awesome. I love it.
I feel like we got to do a live show in some of those pubs in London that'll end with a bar fight because of Brazilian Tie's big mouth. But that's how it goes.
Yep.
Pretty accurate, eh? Enjoy week 6. Sheldon, enjoy your trip to Toontown for AEW. Are you wearing those at the show?
No. But these are sick.
They are. I can't believe those are free.
They were.
Wow. And do they fit your noggin? Because that's a concern for me.
Yeah, no, they do. They're actually quite comfortable.
All right. I can't wait to get save some for me, man. Save some for me.
I got you your pair. We'll get them to you at Labor Day.
Week 6 is on tap in the CFL. We'll talk to you next week as week 6 will be in the books. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.